Hiring more support staff to grow your coaching business is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. And most coaches don't realize it until they're already trapped. A trained AI expert clone doesn't clock out, doesn't need onboarding, and responds to your client's question in under 30 seconds with an answer that's personalized to where they are in your program, not a generic reply that could have gone to anyone. So every month you keep paying for human support to handle questions alone, your AI could answer instantly. You're not just overspending, you're also making your clients wait longer, get less personalized guidance, and quietly decide whether your program is actually still worth it. I think we're all aware of how AI can be very efficient. There are plenty of examples where people and organizations, platforms have integrated AI elegantly in a way that makes it feel very natural. And so the question is not whether or not it can be done. I think people are asking now, how do we get this done? It's become imperative within organizations. I think it raises a good question when an organization doesn't allow, for security reasons, the use of AI to be within the workplace. It doesn't allow for the creativity to take place. I think a lot of organizations and leaders within those organizations are seeing how detrimental that decision can be. And so I think there's a very concerted effort to allow people, within limits, of course, to go out and explore. And this is what's going to be an interesting play in terms of how new technologies, new platforms, new individuals who have the ability to utilize and yield the power of these LLMs and these AI tools will be able to accomplish quite a bit more at scale than traditionally speaking. So Expert AIOS is a product that takes the intellectual property and the knowledge that an individual has developed. I refer to it as a walled garden of information. Individuals and organizations have done an incredible job creating communities and developing a framework and aggregating information that's unique in terms of how they deliver products and services, how they deal with health, how they respond to issues emotionally, physically, could be physical therapists or however. But whenever there's a unique value proposition that requires an understanding and a level of detail that a lot of times an individual becomes the bottleneck, you're only able to disseminate that information as quickly as you can explain it to someone and then have them be able to explain it to somebody else. And now with AI, that transition of information can be done relatively easily. And that's the infrastructure that Expert AIOS creates and makes possible. And once that information is trained, then that's where like the magic happens. And all of a sudden it becomes incredibly easy for the AI to disseminate that information to the most critical users. It could be, any sort of end user, any sort of client, any sort of person who's trying to understand what, this coach or a mentor might be trying to teach them. And think about the fact that you're not bound by that one-on-one time. You're now, have the scale and the leverage for one-to-many conversations. Right now, we see that in maybe perhaps things like webinars when folks want to have sales conversations and they have this one-to-many opportunity. Well, think about that from a support perspective or, building a community perspective. Once an AI has been trained on a custom set of information, those conversations that typically were one-on-one can now be handled one to thousands, tens of thousands, really hundreds of thousands in a way that's unique to that individual, where there could be retention of information depending on the program or depending on where and how this information is structured, whether it's put into an application, however it's built really. And again, that's something that Expert AIOS offers. That is an opportunity to nurture client conversation, to take that client down a path that really no one individual could have served that person as well or with such specificity as an AI could possibly. And then the benefit of this is that when an LLM or when an AI has been trained on a specific set of knowledge, of course, that's kind of like a guarantee that not only will it learn about that individual as it shares more information, but it will always respond with the framework from which, that coach or that mentor or that organization has defined. And that's what we go through, that effort to prompt the LLM to basically create your own version of the most powerful tools that currently exist. All of the chat GPTs, the Claudes, the Perplexities, what they've built has scaled to millions of people. And those same frameworks and that same infrastructure taken and used in the right way can do the exact same thing. And that's where the incredible unlock can become, incredible leverage can start to be used. So really it's such an incredible time to be able to take advantage of these tools. And for those who are willing to adopt, who are willing to break away from the traditional model, what I would also comment on is that sometimes there are some concerns about AI replacing jobs and those who are within organizations. And I would say that's actually the wrong way to look at it. From any point of view, that is possible. And we've obviously heard of many organizations who've laid off people, and there's just been a lot of restructuring. That's unfortunate. I don't think it has to be that way, especially for small and mid-sized organizations where so much has been invested into these individuals who have core knowledge, they have like an emotional intelligence to how a business, may run, how a customer may respond. And so there's such a valuable insight that these employees have that they are actually going to be the crux of the success of how these AI tools will be utilized. It's going to propel them to do their job more efficiently. And by efficiency, yes, time will be a factor, but also accuracy, the way that they respond to clients, the way that they engage. There are stepping stones to where things can and will eventually become autonomous. Agents, AI agents can and will be able to make decisions and do things, but think of this as like the first step to your AI journey and AI infrastructure journey, because once your AI understands how to respond and what your methodologies and your frameworks are, then additional agents can be built on top of that. But again, it's not to outsource your current employees. It's really to allow you to do more with that same group of individuals who already have such a strong knowledge and understanding of your business.